It's no great shock that Aussies are flocking to large SUVs as their preferred family hauler, but it has to fulfil many needs, a one-size-fits-all approach that some do better than others. Our contenders in this segment best straddle that line between comfortable, high-riding wagon with 7 seats that feels equally at home in the suburbs as it does in the bush or out on the highway. The 4 finalists here are all based on their respective ute counterparts, and they offer a blend of high-riding 4-wheel drive capability with gutsy diesel-powered drivetrains more than capable of swallowing up Australia's rugged landscapes. With such a broad brushstroke, we put our 4 finalists through a series of grueling tests, both on the road and off, to find out which one best straddles the line between comfortable family wagon and rugged off-road weekender. The Isuzu MU-X has long been a favourite for buyers in this segment. It's the biggest seller amongst our 4 finalists, not least of all for its ability to tow 3,500 kilograms. That's 400 kilograms more than its rivals here, a fact no doubt important to a lot of Aussies who regularly haul caravans and boats. The judges loved the MU-X's interior too, the most modern of the bunch assembled here, no surprise really since it's also the newest of our contenders. Its car-like cabin really makes you feel at home and with all the technology buyers expect today. The MU-X was eager and willing off-road, tackling our challenging tests with poise and purpose. But the MU-X lacks some of the finesse of its rivals out on the highway and the suburban streets of our cities with a ride that was not as composed as the best in the segment. You could argue it's a victim of its own abilities, Isuzu's engineers having to strengthen the MU-X's rear suspension to cope with that extra towing capacity. Without a loadout back, the big SUV can feel a little light and floaty. The Isuzu MU-X proved a worthy finalist though, with plenty to offer buyers in this segment. But when it came to all-round ability and refinement, it pulled up a fraction short of the winner. Like the rest of the finalists in this category, the Toyota Fortuner shares its underpinnings with a dual-cab ute, in this case Toyota's best-selling Hilux. And that's a good base to start with, certainly in terms of off-road ability, where the Fortuner proved more than capable during our testing, swallowing up rough terrain with ease. There's plenty of grunt from Toyota's 2.8-litre turbo diesel, and with peak torque on tap down low in the rev range, the Fortuner was rarely left wanting, crawling over rocks and mud, or wading through creeks and rivers. It was a similar story out on the open road, with the turbo diesel and 6-speed automatic a capable combination. But the Fortuner lacked that final level of refinement afforded by our winner. And we'd wager that on-road comfort is equally as important as off-road ability in this segment. The judges praised the Fortuner's interior spaciousness, even in the second and third rows of seating. The Fortuner remains a good option for buyers in this segment. It's off-road capable and comfortable inside, but in this company, it just feels a little outclassed. The Mitsubishi Pajero Sport is the most affordable of our finalists, making it a popular choice for buyers looking for a family hauler that can do some off-roading on weekends. And in that respect, the Pajero Sport delivers. Despite its 2.4-litre turbocharged diesel being the least powerful of our 4 finalists, the Pajero Sport proved surprisingly adept at handling the rougher terrain the judges threw at it over our week of testing. But, as the least powerful of our final quartet, the Pajero Sport does work a little harder than its rivals out on the highway and through rural back roads where it can feel a little strained under load. And its ride too could use some finessing to bring it into line with the class leaders. Like the rest of our finalists in this segment, the Pajero Sport does a good job of hiding its Mitsubishi Triton dual-cab ute origins with a facelifted design both inside and out that looks modern and fresh. And with a starting price under $50,000, the Pajero Sport offers good value. That's a big selling point for many buyers right there, an affordable weekday family lugger, able to tackle weekend off-road adventures. The Mitsubishi Pajero Sport certainly makes a strong case for itself. Don't know if you've noticed, but been a little bit of rain during our testing for Car of the Year this year, and this segment, well, large off-road SUV has to deal with a lot of this stuff, this kind of weather, this kind of environment. We're in an urban environment now, but they've got to work off-road too, and in many ways they need to be a Swiss Army knife. This is a highly competitive segment. The Ford Everest is our winner. Let's find out why it won. Despite being among the oldest of our finalists, the Ford Everest was a unanimous winner, with all judges giving it the nod ahead of its rivals. They were universally impressed by its on-road manners, which were easily the best of the 4 finalists. Its ride was refined and comfortable, and the 2-litre twin-turbo diesel matched with Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission provided a relaxed and effortless highway experience. The Everest did lose just a smidge to some of its rivals off-road, but it wasn't enough to sway the judges' opinions, who were tasked with the brief of determining the best all-rounder in the segment. Crucially though, around town and highway dynamics are equally as important as off-road ability, and where other vehicles asked for compromise, the Everest provided a near-perfect blend of on- and off-road performance. That's why it's our best large off-road SUV for 2022.
This is one of the most fascinating segments in our testing this year. It's a booming segment of the market. More Aussies are holidaying at home because of international travel restrictions, so it gave this segment a lot of attention. As ever, it was up against some tough competition, and in fact was up against some newer competition, but continual improvements to the Everest over the years have kept it ahead of its rivals. The other thing that went in favour of the Everest this year is we chose the Trend model. It has the right mix of features and equipment for the money, and that's what edged it over the line.
Being old doesn't mean bad, and the Ford Everest is proof of that. It's the oldest car here, but it was easily the best on-road. It has fantastic ride and handling, it took country roads in its stride, and to be honest, if you're looking at exploring Australia and maybe putting something on the back, this is a great option.
Why is it so good? It's the best on-road, it's the best off-road, and it's the most refined of the finalists. Easily the best all-rounder here.
You know the saying, oldie but a goodie? Probably never more accurate than when you're sitting here inside the Everest cabin. This is an older vehicle. You can tell that from inside the cabin, older infotainment, switchgear that looks like it's been around for a while, and just a general feeling that the game has moved on. But crucially, everything that's in here works and works well. It's easy to use, it's really logically laid out. And one point to note up here in the front row, Ford seats. We always say they're some of the best in the business. They're fantastic in Ranger. They're also really comfortable in Everest, no matter how long the drive. Second row space though, that is crucial for family buyers. So let's find out how much room is back there. One key area for judges during the testing is the amount of space here in the second row, because these are family-focused vehicles and families buy them in huge numbers. Plenty of room behind a tall adult's driving position, no issue there. The seat height relative to the floor is good, so your legs don't feel like they're up too high. You get air vents up here in the roof, you get fan controls and power outlets, and the seat itself is pretty comfortable. So you can fit 3 adults across here, but if you've got 2 teenage kids, even if they're getting taller as they get older, no problem at all in the Everest second row. Judges are impressed with the functionality of this for family buyers. And there's one other key area on that front, the luggage space. Let's check that out. Picture your 2-week holiday with the kids in tow. This whole luggage area is going to be stacked up to the roof. Now, it's fair to say that the judges noted this isn't necessarily the biggest luggage area in the class, but it's still very handy. With the third row folded, you get a fully flat floor. That's fantastic. Reasonably high lip area, but it's straight through, so you don't have to drop down into it. Pretty easy to use, and the benefit is that the third row seats are actually electric. Couldn't be any easier to use. Hit a button to drop them down, hit a button to bring them back up again. So, which Everest would we recommend? Well, it's the one we have right here. The all-wheel drive Everest Trend with the 2-litre twin-turbo diesel and 10-speed automatic. Despite giving away displacement to the others in the class, the 2-litre unit in the Everest never felt overly stressed. If anything, it proved the quietest and most refined of our finalists, and also the most economical in terms of fuel consumption. Our week-long test saw an indicated 9.2 litres against Ford's claim of 8.4. For many buyers, the ability to tow and tow comfortably is critical. Forget what you think about smaller engines being unable to tow. The Everest can haul a 3,100 kilogram braked load and 750 kilograms unbraked. We've previously tested the big Ford's towing ability, and it holds up just fine. The Everest offered the best steering, the best road holding and balance, the most consummate ride, and the best all-round touring credentials. Everest's on-road manners ensure that it is positioned as a comfortable, capable and effortless long-haul tourer, in addition to being well-mannered around town. Its ability to deal with poor road surfaces easily is at odds with the firmness and sure-footedness of its road holding. You'd think that might cost the Everest significantly off-road, but it doesn't in the real world. Everest isn't ultimately as capable in the really tough stuff as Fortuner, but it's still a formidable off-road performer even in standard factory trim. The characteristics of the engine, gearbox and drive systems mean you can tackle the vast majority of off-road driving in complete safety. The broad bandwidth that the Everest is capable of is the reason it's our winner in this segment. I'll tell you one thing that impressed all of the judges. This vehicle, this Ford Everest, is a decade old, and yet it's still right at the top of this segment. Now, I know there's a new one coming later this year, but I can tell you, if this impressed the judges the way it did, if this Ford Everest is still at the top of the segment the way that it is, imagine how good the new one is going to be. Of course, don't forget to hit like if you've enjoyed the video, click on subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content, and the full review for the Ford Everest, along with all of our Drive Car of the Year content, is at Drive.com.au.